Is going to be up next. In the meantime, though, let's also on over to Larry Miller, who has this verify for you on cereal and whether or not it has poison in it. What?
Yeah, some big questions about that this morning. But first, we want to start with a big thank you to a young woman named Vanessa who sent this question to our Verify team.
Hi, my name is Vanessa Antrim. I'm from Bowie, Maryland, and I wanted to see if you could verify whether or not certain cereals have poisonous chemicals in it. Thanks so much.
All right, we appreciate the question. Well, poison in our kids' cereal. Well, let's verify. First of all, Vanessa, you're definitely not alone. The social media sites are full of people worried about a chemical called trisodium phosphate, better known as TSP, present in their kids' cereal.
If I put this on there, I would go to prison for poisoning my children. But yet, they're putting it in our cereals for our kids to eat.
All right, so let's take a look at TSP. It's a chemical compound used in a lot of heavy-duty cleaning products. And yes, you can find it listed right there on the cereal box, too. That's a Cheerio cereal box, by the way. So what's up with that? Well, it's all about the amount that's being used. And as a cleaning agent, a healthy amount of TSP is good for removing grime. As a food additive, a tiny amount of TSP works as a leavening agent and helps food keep its texture. Now, this sounds a bit scary when you kind of put it into context, but consider this. Apples, pears, and grapes all contain a small amount of formaldehyde, and they're still considered safe to eat. Now, similarly, the World Health Organization and Food and Drug Administration have concluded that a small level used in food is recognized as safe. So bottom line, that we can verify as false, that TSP is poisoning your kid's cereal. If you got something that you want us to verify or something that you want us to look into, you have questions about, let our team of researchers certainly do the work for you. You can find us on Facebook and Twitter, or you can send us an email at
toxic paint cleaner ingredient found in Cinnamon Toast Crunch. Come with me to Home Depot and check this out. Here we are at Home Depot at the paint thinner and paint cleaner section, and you can see there is TSP, but it's TSP substitute. It's TSP phosphate free. I talked to them. They stopped carrying regular TSP trisodium phosphate because it's toxic to people that are using it. So what I did is I actually ordered it. It's online at Home Depot. So why did they pull it? It says right here, harmful if swallowed or inhaled. This is the same TSP that they're putting in your cereal. It's harmful if it's swallowed. Why? Because it's a trisodium phosphate salt, and when you eat it, it breaks up in your digestive system to sodium ions and phosphate. And phosphate is toxic to your body, leading to neurological and behavioral effects, kidney damage, and cardiovascular issues. It can even interfere with calcium absorption, leading to weaker bones and osteoporosis long term. So, for the love of God, if you see TSP on any food label, especially your kid's cereal, put it back on the shelf if you want to live a non-toxic lifestyle.
You grab that box of cereal this morning, you might want to check the label. A new study says glyphosate, and you can look on your nutritional label there or ingredient label, a chemical and weed killer, has been found in popular cereals like Lucky Charms and Quaker Oats. Now, there is an ongoing debate on whether this ingredient has the ability to cause cancer, and here to talk about this is nutritionist Shelley Dine. And welcome, Shelley.
Thank you.
This story came out last week, and I instantly said, I'm a mom. I feed my kids Cheerios. A lot of moms do. I feed my kids Lucky Charms, even instant Quaker Oats, and I freaked out, for lack of a better word. So I wanted to bring you on because we just had the lawyer on who brought the case against Monsanto and the weed killer, which is Roundup weed killer.
Right.
But they said that is used on the farms that create oats and wheat. In turn, it transfers into the products we eat and the cereals we eat.
Right.
So moms at home who are drinking their coffee and their little babies in their high chair eating Cheerios, what do we do?
So it's interesting because you can see all the cereals that are here, Cheerios and Lucky Charms and Nature Valley granola bars, and you see the study and it freaks us all out because most of us have it in our pantries or in our kitchens. But it's interesting because a toxology report came out that said 1 in a million, you have a 1 in a million chance of getting cancer over time with eating these types of products. So 1 in a million think, okay, that's not a lot. However, it's 1 serving a day. And 1 serving, most of us are not having 1 serving. So for example, if you're eating Cheerios and you're pouring that cereal in your bowl, 1 serving is considered 1 cup. Most of us are having 2 to 3 cups.
Well, I bring a bag of Cheerios in my bag, in my diaper bag, when I have my baby who's teething.
Right. So most of us aren't measuring that out. So if you're having more than 1 serving a day, I would really try to cut that back to even having it twice a week. or once a week.
Can I just ask you a question? I'm going to
Sure.
look at this label. I didn't even look this weekend. Does it say it right on here, like glyphosate? Is that what I'm looking for on these products?
Unfortunately, it does not have glyphosate in the
Glyphosate, excuse me.
Yes, it doesn't have it in the ingredients. So it's a matter of going online and looking and seeing what is the recommended dose. Because according to the Environmental Working Group, anything in excess of 160 parts per billion is considered unhealthy.
So in California, if something has excess, it has to have a warning. Like California Prop 65 says, it has to have a warning label that says this may cause cancer.
Yes.
Okay, so
Yes.
Nutritionist, would you feed your kids this stuff?
I would on occasion. So I would say once a week, twice a week to have it is okay. So make it as a treat. There's so many more healthy breakfast options that you can choose from, with the exception of having these products.
Okay, what are my healthy options then?
So your healthy options could be, there's some other brands like Kind, is pretty good. They show that there's actually lower than 160 parts per billion. There's eggs, which are great, the best breakfast food you can have. There's Barber's Puffins, which Barber's was not a great cereal to have. However, the Puffin cereal was actually a great cereal to have. Anything from Whole Foods is a better option if you're concerned about your children and the safety of your children's food. Even their conventional brands have been great.
Well, what if something says organic on it?
So anything organic is, they have shown there have been some traces of glyphosate, but much lower to the recommended dose.
Okay.
So you're fine if it says organic.
Okay, so we're going to just have it, Kellogg and General Mills both put out statements about, because a lot of people, I put this on Instagram, people instantly got so scared. General Mills released a statement saying, our products are safe and without question, they meet regulatory safety levels. The EPA has researched this issue and has set rules that we follow. Kellogg, who makes a lot of cereals and everything we eat, also responded saying, our food is safe. EPA sets strict standards for safe levels of these agriculture residues, and the ingredients we purchase from suppliers for our foods fall under these limits. Okay, so we have this under our belts. But then last week, another scare came about arsenic in baby food, like baby squeezers. How many baby squeezers have I given my kids? How many moms and dads?
Yes.
It's the instant go-to.
Right.
What? I don't even know what to say.
Right.
Like, what should we look for in our products like that?
So what you should look for is try to give your babies whole foods, meaning give them the actual fruit or the bananas or the avocado, or give them whole foods. In terms of rice, try not to buy the packaged rice.
Like rice cereal or
Correct.
rice? Okay.
So try to buy rice. They have shown that basmati rice and sushi rice are the best options.
Okay. I'm going to be a realist here.
Yes.
Those grab and goes, those puffs and everything, those are easy.
Yes.
And so, most moms, working moms, any mom or dad doesn't have time to maybe buy, or doesn't have money to buy these, fresh fruits and stuff like that. These are the easy alternative. And you think you're giving your kids something healthy.
Right. So it's very easy to go to the market and buy avocados and bananas and mash them up and prep them before. So if you're a working mom, a working dad, that you are able to prep these ahead of time. So prep them before you're going to work and then have them ready. And in terms of the rice, it's very easy to make rice, and it's about the prep of the rice. So it's a lot of water. Make sure you're draining it well.
So not instant rice, like instant, minute rice or anything like that could have levels or traces of arsenic in it. Which
Right.
It sounds so scary that we say arsenic.
Yes, very scary.
It sounds like it's a death sentence.
Right.
So in terms of all this stuff, should we be overly concerned or freaked out?
So I say everything in moderation. It's not something to be completely freaked out about, but I think it's really important to have an idea and be mindful of these products and what's on the market.
All right, so Doritos, Twinkies, Fruit Loops, and Oreos. You eat that stuff?
Oh, Doritos and Oreos, I'm a big fan.
Well, no one would call them health foods, but would you label them not recommended for human consumption?
Yeah, I heard that, or I read that headline. I did get a little worried. Apparently that could actually happen according to a new law in Texas. If it is enacted, we need to bring Dr. McGeorge in with the reasoning behind the move and how it might affect us here in Michigan. What is up?
Well, Karen and Demond, the new Texas state law, just waiting to be signed by their governor, would change the requirements for food labeling. Specifically, the label would read, "Warning. This product contains an ingredient that is not recommended for human consumption by the appropriate authority in Australia, Canada, the European Union, or the United Kingdom." Now, the reason is that food additive standards outside of the U.S. are different, and many would actually argue much healthier. In the U.S., food additives like colorings, chemical preservatives, and artificial fats are regulated by the Food and Drug Administration. And as long as there's no clear evidence that they're harmful, The FDA allows them in our food. That's different than the standard in other parts of the world, like the European Union, United Kingdom, Australia, or Canada. The agencies that regulate what's allowed in their food will only allow additives once they have been proven to be safe. You can almost think of it as, in the US, additives have the presumption of innocence until proven harmful, while elsewhere they're assumed harmful until proven innocent. And while that principle serves our criminal legal system well, it does carry the risk of allowing potentially harmful chemicals into our foods. Chemicals like azodicarbonamide, which is used to bleach flour, or olestra, a fat substitute, or the delectable-sounding butylated hydroxyanisole, a preservative. These are not allowed in foods in other countries, but easily find their way into the American diet. Now, whether or not adding a caution label to commonly eaten but healthily processed foods is actually going to change people's eating habits, well, that's not clear. But at least it would give people the option to make healthier choices. In big picture, when labeling changes like this become mandatory in one state, especially one as large as Texas, the same labels, they often make their way to food that's sold around the country, and they have the potential to get food manufacturers to actually remove the problematic additive so they don't have to label their food as potentially harmful.
All right, so before folks start getting too nervous, are any of these chemicals actually harmful, or are our neighbors in other countries just being super, super cautious?
Well, it's actually a little bit of both. For example, the chemical azodicarbonamide, which is a plastic foaming agent that's used actually for making things like yoga mats, that's been linked to cancer in lab animals. But the FDA data suggests that it's not used in concentrations high enough to cause problems in our food. Now, for me personally, I would say that when we're not sure, we just shouldn't use it until it is proven sure. And that is actually why the European approach seems much more sensible.
I mean, if I saw that label that said not healthy for human consumption,
you might think twice.
I would think twice.
Yeah.
I'd put those Doritos down. Maybe not the Oreos. Put the Doritos on.
We all know the basic tenets of living a healthy lifestyle: exercising, eating healthy, and for many, taking vitamins and supplements. But it turns out some supplements billed to help you live longer could actually be putting your life at risk. It all comes down to your liver, the organ responsible for filtering harmful substances from the blood. And while your liver works hard to do that, it can be overwhelmed by certain drugs or supplements, leading to something called drug-induced liver injury, also known as toxic hepatitis. Acetaminophen, more commonly known under the brand name Tylenol, is a good example. It is one of the most common causes of toxic hepatitis. But as more people use supplements, more cases are popping up. According to a 2024 survey by the Council for Responsible Nutrition, as many as 3 out of 4, or 75% of American adults, take some form of supplement, whether it be herbal or dietary. And nearly 4 in 5 say they would rather take supplements than prescription or over-the-counter medications. Comparatively, the CDC's most recent study done on the subject shows that between 2017 and 2018, just a little over half of adults 20 and older had used a supplement in the last 30 days. A study published in the medical journal Liver Transplantation in 2022 found the number of patients added to the wait list for a transplant because of supplement-related liver failure increased eightfold, from 2.9% in 1995 to 24.1% in 2020. Experts say it's hard to figure out what the exact culprit is. A 2017 study by the American Association for the Study of Liver Diseases found 20% of liver toxicity cases in the United States could be linked to dietary or herbal supplements. But since the supplements contain multiple ingredients, they're not sure which one or ones are to blame. However, there are some you can make sure to look out for. A study published last year out of the University of Michigan found 6 common ingredients can definitively be tied to toxic hepatitis: turmeric, green tea extract, ashwagandha, garcinia, Cambogia, red yeast rice, and black cohosh. The study's authors said about 15 million Americans take at least one of those supplements.